Imagine you are an explorer. You go to different countries, explore different cultures. Every culture has its own rules and regulations, and before we visit a country, we always read those manuals, right? So that the people of that country does not get offended by our behaviors. Just like that, our body has these manuals which it follows to create our traits, even our diseases. Again, if we think about it, it is kind of a book that has some codes, though it has only 4 letters in it: A, T, G, and C. Even if you think about it, you are a human being, yet some people, you are a different human being, yet some people will tell you that you resemble your mother or your father, or maybe some traits of you resembles your siblings, right? Have you ever wondered why does that happen? Well, it is because of a molecule called DNA. It is also called the blueprint of life. DNA is the short form of the word deoxyribonucleic acid. So in today's lecture, we are going to cover the basics of DNA. Now, people, the scientists especially, they knew about the existence of DNA, but they did not know how its structure was. Different scientists tried to find out how it looked. In the 1950s, when all the scientists were busy in discovering the structure of DNA, a brilliant scientist named Rosalind Franklin was working with it too. She took a photograph using X crystallography, which showed the structure of DNA. This photo is called Photo 51, and using that photo as a catalyst, Watson and Crick created the 3D structure of DNA, which in 1953 gave them a Nobel Prize. Now that we know how DNA was discovered, we need to know what was its structure. From the board, we can see that a spiral shape, right? We can think about a spiral staircase or a twisted ladder. That is the structure of DNA. If we imagine that we are looking at a spiral staircase, then we will first think about the railings, right? The railings, in this case of DNA, the railings are made up of phosphate and sugars. And on the other hand, the steps that we will use to go up in the stairs are made up of adenine, guanine, thymine, and cytosine. These are the nitrogenous base pair and with which the phosphate and the sugars create the structure of DNA. Now, there is a rule which is called the base pairing rule, which the adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine always follow. It is more like their jigsaw puzzle, and each one will absolutely work with another, and adenine will never work with guanine, or thymine will never work with cytosine. It will always pair up with guanine, will always pair up cytosine, and adenine will always pair up with thymine. And that is the structure of DNA. Now, we know that the DNA transfers information from person to person, right? Like from our parents to us, right? And even in our cells, we have different cells in our body, yet all of the cells resemble the same structure of DNA. How does that happen? Well, DNA has a superpower. We can call it a superpower. It is called replication. We know about cell cycle. In the interphase, the DNA replicates itself. If we think about a zipper, when we unzip it, we find 2 strands, right? These 2 strands, in case of DNA, is same. The one strand will act as a template to create a new strand. And it will always, if there is an A in the template strand, we will always find a T on the new strand. And it will never change. But if it ever occurs that there is a change, proofreading will help it to solve the problem. But sometimes still mutations can occur. Well, that is something we can talk about in another video. And when we, in case of replication, if mutations actually occur, it can harm, sometimes it can cause harm, but in general there is a very low chance that harm will occur in your body, and every single cell will have the same same DNA structure which will encode the same ATGC pattern. Now that we know how it replicates, why is DNA so important for our body, right? Well, I have already mentioned it that DNA will pass on the genetic information from your parents to you, and even in case of when mitosis occurs inside of your body, the DNA will pass on that genetic information from one cell to another. Again, other than that, we can say that in real life, in case of forensics, we all have watched different crime documentaries, right? There we talk about that we should do a DNA test to find out the suspect. How does that work? Well, the suspect will have that unique DNA sequence that will only resemble him and him only. So when they will match each other, we will know that this suspect might be the culprit. And other than that, there is use of DNA in creating medicines and stuff. So today we have learned about that DNA is made up of phosphate, sugars and nitrogenous bases. We know that Rosalind Franklin created photo 51, that was a catalyst for Watson and Crick to create the 3D structure of DNA, which later gave them the Nobel Prize. Again, then we learned that DNA uses information and transfers it from one cell to another, the mother to their daughters or their sons, the father from their daughters to their sons. And other than that, we know that in case of real life, it is always being used, DNA testing, creating medicines and stuff. We can say that DNA kind of is a musical note where the combination of AT and GC creates different variations, and even in a simple changes in them can create a different new melody. That is it for today. Thank you.